Again, let me say this webinar is for people who are interested in new construction, and what does it take to uh, fund a new construction build. And this webinar is designed for you guys to learn more, so please feel free to ask questions. I am joined today by Carol Autry, who has been with Kent Homes for quite some time, at least as long as I've been in the coast of North Carolina, so that's 12 or more years. And also I'm joined with Clay Roberson with US Bank. I've been working with both of them for a long time. So great people. That's why I asked them to be on this webinar. Just so you know, this webinar is going to be recorded. It's going to be on my YouTube channel. No names are disclosed. It's all private. And we don't share emails or anything, but it also gives you an opportunity to go back and revisit the webinar. Just real quick, for those of you who don't know me, Ellen and Jill, I'm sorry, name's not jumping out at me, but anyhow, just want to make a quick introduction. I've been doing this for 30 years and been helping people with new home communities, new construction communities. I have a team of agents that work for me. Karen, Harrison, and John all work for me. So you may be working with one of my agents, if not me. But we do specialize in all the active adult communities here at the coast of North Carolina, existing homes as well as new construction. So I'm joined here by Clay Roberson. He's the mortgage loan officer with US Bank. I've known Clay for at least 5 or 6 years. So Clay, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here today. And if you would, just tell a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. And thanks for the attendees. And yeah, so like Chris, I've been in the business a long time. I think I entered the mortgage business in February of 1991. So what's that, 30 plus years. My wife and I, Ellen, we're full-time residents of Brunswick County. We moved here in August of 19 from the Raleigh area, and we absolutely love the coast of North Carolina. And if you choose to move here, I think you'll be as happy as we are. So I'm happy to be here and look forward to answering any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Clay. So Carol, Carol works directly for Kent Homes. She's been a representative for Kent Homes for, I don't know, Carol, how long it's been? As long as I've been.
Going on 16 years.
Excellent. And Carol helps people figure out what floor plan they're going to use, and also walk them through the process, help them understand if it's a good lot, not a good lot that we're working with. So Carol has been an outstanding representative for Kent Homes. Yeah, Carol, if you would just briefly give us who's Carol?
Well, yes, and thank you for joining us in this webinar. I've been in new home sales and new construction industry since 1989, so quite a long time. Been with the Kent family since for the last 16 years. Primarily work in Brunswick Forest and several communities like St. James, Oyster Harbor, Winding River, River Sea, Sunset Ridge. So I cover a wide area, but yeah, we're excited to be part of this and hope we get to meet at some point and make a new homeowner out of you.
Carol, why did you choose to work for as long as you have with Kent Homes?
Well, I have a history with the Kent family. I go back with them as far as 1989. The owner of the company at the time was Dan Kent, and his wife Miriam. She worked for a developer in Wilmington, and she hired me to be an on-site sales person for a townhome community. And that was my first new home sales job. And so I worked for her for several years and then did a whole lot of other things in between. But I've known the Kent family since '89. So I have a long history with them.
Excellent. So you are a great ambassador for Kent for certain. So let's dig in. What is a construction loan perm? So a construction loan perm is used to finance the construction of your home, lock in your interest rate, and close before construction begins. I'm going to ask Clay to answer or talk about that in a minute. But once construction has been completed, then it can, we call it a C to P, construction to perm. So if you ever hear that acronym, C to P, then that C to P loan converts to a permanent mortgage. So you're paying interest during the construction of the home, and then you're paying, it converts to a regular 30 or 20-year loan, or US Bank has several different options. So we're going to talk a little bit more about understanding the home building process and the financing of that home building. So let me switch over to this view real quick. So just want to go over general understanding of a construction loan and when it applies and when it doesn't apply. So and can you roll the land into it, and what documents are needed, and don't want to go too crazy on explaining everything. We can always get you in contact with Clay and Carol to get a better understanding, but just want to go through the general understanding of it, and certainly answer any questions that y'all may have during this presentation or any other time. So permanent financing versus construction financing. Talk about that for a little bit, Clay.
So the way a construction to perm works, Chris, is that so someone applies for a mortgage today with us. They'll close within 45 to 60 days. It's a one-time close, and the couple benefits of a one-time close are there only one set of closing costs. Okay, they're locking into their long-term rate up front, whether it be a 30-year fix or one of our adjustable rate mortgages, either a 10-year, 7-year, or 5-year. Okay, so they're with the uncertainty of interest rates, that could be a plus, not knowing where rates will be, 12 months from now. So if someone went to the builder had a construction loan, then at the end, the borrower is going to lock into their permanent financing, and that could be 12 months down the road, and not knowing where rates may be at that point in time. So again, with us, we offer the one-time close on a primary residence and a second home, and we'll go to $3 million on a primary and up to $1.5 million on a second home.
Okay, so permanent financing options on newly completed properties. If the house is under construction up to the point of foundation and it's not built beyond that, where's the cutoff where the lenders, and I think this is a lending law, not just US Bank, where's the cutoff that the bank say you have to have a permanent loan at completion of the home?
So with the way it works with us, Chris, and probably most of my friendly competitors, so if, for example, you let's say they already own the land, okay? And they write a contract with Kent Homes for, you pick a number, okay? So we're going to take an application today, and we'll close it within 45 to 60 days. Nothing can happen with the construction until we close on the loan. There cannot be any activity on the land as far as pushing down trees, starting of construction, etc. So when we close on the permanent financing, during the build phase, whether it's a 12-month build, a 15-month, or a 24-month with us, we offer those three: 12, 15, or 24. So let's say Carol says we can get this done in 12 months. So we're going to do a 12-month build. So during the 12 months, on the amount of money that's being drawn, the borrower is only going to pay interest only, okay? And there'll be 5 to 7 draws, and Carol can expand on that, how many she would anticipate. But once the home is complete, let's say on day 365, So beginning month 13, now we're going from the interest only payments to a fully amortized payment, meaning they're going to pay principal and interest. So for example, if they did a 7-year ARM, so the rate is fixed for 7 years, okay? So the first year we're using up, we're paying just interest only. So once the home's complete, beginning month 13, there are 6 months left on that interest rate lock. So they're locking in up front, or they don't have to lock in on day one of the application, but they're locking in prior to closing on the loan. So does that answer?
Yeah, that answers my question. I have another question about that. If a builder, it's a new construction home and the house is already started,
Like it's a
And-
spec home, right?
then it's in essence a spec home. But I've come across this a couple of times where the builder wanted to get the client to take over the cost of the construction by doing a construction to perm loan, but there's a lender requirement that says once it's in foundation or at some point in time, no, it has to be, once the house is already started, it has to be, the loan is not closed until the house is finished.
Well, in that case, Chris, with us, and I can't speak for other lenders, but I would suspect it would be the same. Then we could not do a construction to perm at that point in time.
Right, so the builder's got to carry the cost of the
They're
construction.
carrying the cost,
What
right?
I'm just simply saying is, for you, the attendees on here, a construction to perm applies when we're starting from scratch, okay?
Starting from scratch.
So if the builder has already started the construction of the home, say it's a spec home from the builder, then the builder is already carrying the cost of the construction, and you cannot close on a loan until the house, you will not close on the house until the house is finished.
Until you
So I
got a
work with
CO.
several builders, Kent Homes as an example. We had a house that we started, the Coopers Bay and Oyster Harbor. We had a client that came in, put it under contract, but we did not close on that until the house was already finished. So a CP loan was not required, but it was a new construction home. Does anybody on the attendees have any question about that? Because I may be a little not explaining that clearly. But if you find a house that is offered by a builder and it's already started, you are basically qualifying for a permanent loan. If the house is not started, then you're looking for a C2P loan, construction loan. So land. If a client finds a parcel of land, then can that be financed? Hold on to that question. Let me answer Jill's question. Jill, you're unmuted. What would be your question?
Okay, so must we find the lot first? Must we purchase the lot first before we enter into the construction mortgage, or can that all happen at once?
It can all happen at once if the seller is willing to roll the land into the construction to permanent loan. So if it's a parcel of land that's offered by just an individual that's decided not to build on it, then when we negotiate that offer, we're going to let the seller know we're going to want to roll this into a package loan, including the land and also the build cost. Now, if you find the land and you know you want to build on it, and then after you own that land, can you then roll that land into the total construction loan? Clay, you can answer that.
So yeah, let me back up a little bit. And that's a really good question, Jill. So let's say you identify a piece of land and you pick a dollar amount. Let's say it's $100,000 or $50,000. And you also said we've already identified Kent Homes we want Kent to build us this home. So what you're going to do in that scenario, you're going to write a contract with the seller of the land. Then you write a contract with Carol at Kent Homes. and we're going to close on your construction to perm loan, let's say 45 or 50 days from the day of application. So we can pay that land off at closing with the construction to perm funds. Okay. If you've already owned that land for more than 12 months, then we're going to give you credit for the, well, one or two things. We can take whatever you paid for the land up front, or we go off the appraised value, the opinion of value from an appraiser. So I think I answered the question, but maybe not. And if I didn't, ask me again, and I'll try to expand more.
So, yeah, go ahead, Jill.
No, I understand. We're in Pennsylvania, so things are very different. But for instance, if we see something in Brunswick Forest and I don't know the process yet. We haven't met with anyone yet. That's coming up in 2 weeks. But let's say we find something in a neighborhood in Brunswick Forest that Kent Homes is building. If they haven't started it on spec, like you're saying, I understand we would get just permanent financing. But if it hasn't started yet, we would buy the lot and construct and contract with Kent Homes all in one process and look to get a construction mortgage then, correct?
Yes, you can do that. Now, Brunswick Forest will be releasing in a couple of weeks a new home section called Creekside. So Creekside is the new release of home sites that'll be there. So the developer owns those properties. And the developer, in my past experience in working with Brunswick Forest Realty and also with the developer of Brunswick Forest, ideally they want you to just close on the land, pay for that. However, I have in many cases been able to negotiate with the developer and the realty entity of Brunswick Forest to package it. So it can be done. We just got to let them know up front that that is the intent. Yes, Jill.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if I've mentioned this, but we offer land loans or lot loans, if you will. But in many cases, it's better off. You'd be much better off if you can do, take down, pay off the land at the time of the construction to perm closing. Because if you buy the lot up front and if you get a lot loan or land loan, then you've got a set of closing costs. Okay. But if you do it all at once, then you eliminate those closing costs for the land loan and you just incur the closing costs for the construction to perm. So if at all possible, it's going to save you money in the long run by doing it that way.
Right. And we've got to get the seller to agree to that. And in a case where it's an individually owned property, it's just Sam Sneed owns that property. We've got to negotiate that with them. In a case like Brunswick Forest, again, we would negotiate that with the seller, the developer, and then past being the guide, I've been able to accomplish that so that you can just package it all together. What it means is the developer has got to agree, I'm going to get paid on my land later rather than paying off the land sooner. And the developer is not going to get paid. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail because in order to get the construction loan accomplished, you also have to identify who the builder is and what is the floor plan. And you have to have a contract. So let's just wrap up with land just real quick for a moment. Land can be rolled in to the construction if the seller of the land, the owner of the land, agrees to it. Ideally, that's the best thing to do, but we've got to get the seller to agree to that. So in terms of buying the land and making that a part of the construction loan, if somebody paid cash for the land and the land, say it's worth $100,000 and the cost to build the house, let's say is another $500,000, does the equity of the land apply to the down payment for the construction loan?
So if the land has been owned for less than 12 months with us, we'll need a copy of the the contract for the land. If it's been owned for more than 12 months, it's the opinion of value of the appraiser. So
Okay, but based
But
on, let's say it's 100,000, the land's worth 100 and it is of true value of 100, that $100,000 would apply towards the down payment for the construction
the
loan.
down payment. And with us,
If they,
yeah, go ahead, Chris, I'm sorry. But
is that correct?
you're right. Yeah, absolutely. And with us, I didn't mention this earlier, but you can do a one-time construction to perm loan with us for as little as 10% down with no mortgage insurance.
Okay.
Some lenders may require 20% down. But to answer your question, yes, that would go towards, their down payment.
Okay, just I want to touch on this just real briefly. Builder review process. U.S. Bank and almost any other bank that we would recommend is not going to lend just to, jackleg. So Kent obviously has been in business for, geez, how long?
35,
something.
about 35.
Yeah. So, but banks do require a builder review process. We on our end will help you with that. Should they not already be approved? So construction documents. All right. In order to qualify for the loan, what at basic does the lender need in order to qualify for the loan and lock in a rate?
Well, to lock into it, first of all, we need an offer to purchase contract to start an application. So if we take an application today, the borrower is not required to lock in. They don't lock in on day one, they're floating. But they have to lock in before they close on the loan. But prior to closing, we'll need plans and specs, a building survey, description of materials, specifications and the plans, etc. But I don't have to have all that prior to or to start the application. Just have to have all that prior to the closing.
Okay, but let's say they want to build with Kent Homes. In order to do that, then Kent will provide the construction contract and all the details that go with that construction contract. That's when you actually can lock in your rate.
Can I jump in here for just 1 second?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, when we start talking with folks, you do need to get pre-qualified because the builder's contracts are not contingent on financing. So one of the first steps is I would connect you with the lender and you would go through the pre-qualifying stage. So you can do all of that up front, get all the paperwork necessary documents to the lender so you can get pre-qualified for up to a certain amount. And then once you get your contract done with the builder and the lot, if you're gonna finance it all together, then once you've signed a build contract with the builder, then that's what starts the process with the lender where he can start the loan process. Now he's right, you wouldn't necessarily lock your rate in because you can't lock a rate in for more than 60 days. So we have to time it as to when we expect to be breaking ground. And it depends on what our backlog might be at that time. But you can get all your pre-qualifications done up front. And you would need to do that so that there's no issue because the contract is not contingent on financing.
That's an excellent point, Carol. Excellent.
So, all right. So speaking of that, just for a moment, in terms of the contract with Kent, and we'll go more through the build process with Kent. Part of your contract is the base price of the build and any interior selections. So Kent is one of those builders that will allow you to make some structural changes and interior design selection. So that is a part of the contract, which comes up to a point. So if somebody chooses, say, $25,000 in upgrade, can that be applied and rolled into the construction loan?
Yes, because that is added to the base price and it becomes the contract sales price. And that is the number that the lender looks at. Now with us, as far as selections, we do want to get all the structural options determined up front, because those are the big ticket items. Like if you're adding a bonus room, if you're going to angle a garage, if you're going to extend a garage, if you're going to change the footprint, any major structural change we want to get determined up front. Typically with us, selections are done after contract. And then the next question that I get from people are, can I finance my selections in? It's not being done till after the contract. So the lender has the contract with one price, but you come to the design center and maybe you spend another $25,000. But yes, you can roll that into the contract price. We would just let the lender know, or you would let the lender know that you want to finance your selections. And then after selections are done and that balance is determined, we would do an amendment to the contract to roll that balance into the contract sales price. And then the lender would have the new price to base his appraisal on.
Okay. All right. So just completing the draw, and we're going to move into the bill process here in a second, but so the draws, just in recap, somebody is paying interest only, and that will be on a draw schedule that would be per contract with either Kent Homes or whoever. And so interest payments will be based on the amount of money that is drawn by the builder during the process of that construction, be it 8 months or 10 months, however long it takes to build. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct. Yes. And if, typically, and Carol, you can speak to this, but I would think, most builders are going to require a deposit up front.
Yes.
So whatever that amount is, that money gets used first before
Right.
we take any draws.
Right. It's 10% with us of the contract sales price. And yes, you're right, Clay. That money is what I refer to as the startup money. So that 10% goes in the bank and it pays for drafting time, design center time, permitting, approval fees. Sometimes we go ahead and order windows early, but yes, that money is getting spent up front. And then when the first draw is requested, which is not till after the foundation is completed, when we request the first draw, we automatically back out or subtract out that 10% deposit that they've already paid.
Right.
Okay. All right. So during the construction, you're paying interest only. At the end of the construction period, then you're converting to a standard loan, and then you'll be receiving monthly payments or statements for the cost of the home in total. And I guess US Bank, you also offer draft payments.
Yes.
Okay. So just real briefly, Clay, I think you can add 10% to the construction cost as a contingency should somebody make some modifications to the house.
That's correct. And if any unused portion of that money, so we'll go at the 10% of the contract price to build. So on a $500,000 home, up to $50,000. So let's say you only use 20,000 of that 50, then the remaining 30 would go towards principal reduction at the end.
Okay. So with Kent Homes is what I refer as a portfolio builder. They've got 10 floor plans that they can pick. You as a client can pick one of those 10 floor plans and go through your selection process, any structural changes that you would. You do have an option to make a change during construction, but Carol, how often do you see anybody even want to do that?
Well, it's pretty typical because it's hard to think of everything when you do your selections. And so it's common that people think of something after we start construction that they want to add. It's referred to in common terminology as a change order. We call it a client work authorization. But yes, we do have a process for that. And basically anything that's done through a CWA is paid outside of the loan because it's not a part of that sales contract price. So our change order CWA process is that anything that you do request to be added or changed that comes to a balance is paid outside once you approve that CWA.
Okay. And so something maybe I want an extra outlet.
Yeah. A lot of times when they come to do their pre-drywall, inspection with the project manager. They'll walk through and see where all the electrical is located, even though you did your electrical plan at selections and maybe you didn't think that you might want an outlet in the pantry or the master bedroom in the closet, things like that. So yeah, we see electrical items, but it can be a whole gamut of things. Sometimes we have discontinued items, and so we have to have a new selection done, so the homeowner has to come in and make a new selection, and if they upgrade or whatever and there's a price difference, that would be owed. But it can be a lot of different things, but probably electrical is one of the more common ones.
All right, so Carol, Jill asked again, what is a CWA?
Okay, so it's the same thing as a change order. We just call it the client work authorization because the client authorizes us to do the work through a form that they fill out. So we just don't use that term change order, but it's the same thing. You're going to ask for a change or, a modification of something. It can't be structural, but you're asking for a change to be made. So it's like same thing as a change order.
Okay. All right. So Kent has a great diagram that talks through the process of start to finish. So Carol, if you could, let's walk through this
Okay.
process we can.
So the first step obviously is what you guys are thinking is securing a home site. And then once you do that, then you're going to select a floor plan with us, and we'll go through our model homes, and our website's really easy to use. It's very user friendly.
Homes.
Excuse me?
I think that was
Bruce.
Bruce.
Do you have a
No,
question?
I'm sorry. I'm just talking to my wife. I apologize.
Oh, okay. So then once you select a floor plan, then we're gonna go through that process where you make your structural and personalize the plan. So we're gonna walk the house room by room, and we're gonna talk about windows, ceiling treatments, doorways, anything that would relate to the roof trusses or the footprint. And we're gonna determine all of those structural items. Now we work from a list of options. We have an options library, and we probably have over 3,000 options that you can choose from to personalize your home. So most of what you're probably going to want, we've already got it pre-priced, and we can tell you exactly what's going to be. Like, I want to angle the garage on the shelter bay. It's $5,400. So we're going to work through all that process by doing what we call a structural walk, going through the house room by room. Then we're going to prepare a line item quote so that you can review that and you can decide if you want to take anything out, add anything. And then once you finalize that, that is when we move to your purchase agreement. And it's at that point in time that we would want to know, we want to know up front if you've chosen a lender, because we want to get you moving through that process of pre-qualification while we're working on your structural items, so that once you do sign a purchase agreement with us, we can go ahead and send the contract to the lender. And then after that, we would schedule your selections appointment. You would come in and choose all your interior and exterior selections. You'll sign off on those. You'll get an opportunity to review them, make changes. And then once you've done that, if you want to finance that balance in, at that time, we would do an addendum to the contract. And in the meantime, once you sign the contract and the lender gets started, they know we have to have it closed before we can break ground. So while you're going through the selections and getting all that done, they're on the back end doing the loan. And of course, if you're going to do the addendum.
I'm sorry, Carol. Let's back up just a quick minute, okay?
Okay.
So Creekmore Realty Group, what we do is we're Alpha to Omega. We help people from beginning to end by identifying the home site, what home site that may be. And in selecting the floor plan, we are almost as versed with the floor plans as Carol is, but not certainly as much. So part of what we do when somebody's trying to figure out, do they want to build with Kent or do they want to build with Trust or whoever they will be, what we do is we take them into various models so that they can see the difference between the various builders and the builder style. So part of what we do at Creekmore Realty Group is help you with that in the selection of the floor plan and certainly of the builder. So in personalizing that plan, that's definitely where Carol 100% takes over there in her team in terms of personalizing that plan. So I just wanted to throw that in,
Okay, yeah.
Carol. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, so, so then when you close on the construction loan, we will have been submitting the plans to the, once you complete selections and you sign off on selections, then we draw your final set of plans. And we're gonna send those to you to sign off on. And once you sign off on the final set of plans, then we send that to the POA or the Architectural Review Committee for that community for approval. So while we're doing all that, you're still in the back, on the back side, doing your loan, just going through the process of being underwritten and all of that. And then once we get approval, hopefully you have closed on the loan and the money's there ready to go, because then we're going to apply for the building permit. And then once we get the building permit and your loan is closed, then we're going to start clearing your lot and putting in your foundation. We're going to have a pre-construction meeting at that point, which will then introduce you to our project manager who's going to build your home. With Kent Homes, there's always just one point of contact. During the sales process, it would be me. Your selections would be one of the girls in the design center. And then when we get to the pre-construction meeting, that's when I hand it off to the project manager, and they're going to take it from there. And you'll be married to the project manager for about 8 months while he builds your home. In the pre-con meeting, we just go over what to expect during the construction process, how we communicate, how to do or submit a client work authorization should you want to do a change, all of those things that you're going to go through while the home is being built. And then we have framing start. That's the date that goes in the contract for your start date. Now that is when the sticks and bricks go up, not the foundation's already in. So from framing to completion typically is 8 months. Then the next step that you would come to do would be your pre-drywall orientation, which you would walk the house with the project manager. It is not sheetrocked yet. The electrical is in. Insulation is not in yet because you can't see electrical if the insulation's in. But the project manager will walk you through, and a lot of times that's when a CWA comes out because somebody wants to add more electrical. Also at that point in time, you would meet with your landscaper and start to work on your landscape plan. And then we move to interior finishes, complete the home, and then the closing is kind of a two-step process with us. We're gonna give you a 30-day notice of closing, which is your hard date, and we're going to schedule your homeowner orientation on that date. And that is when you come do your walkthrough. It takes about 4 to 5 hours because we're going to orient you with the house, all the systems in the house, run through everything with you, and make sure you understand how everything works. And then whatever comes out of that meeting in the form of a punch list, and we try to minimize that as much as possible, we need to take 3 to 4 days to get that done. And then once that is done and we re-clean the house, then your closing date is the date that we hand over the keys to you. So there's a two-step process in the actual closing and when you can move in. And then after you've been in the home for 60 days, we do another walkthrough. And then we do a walkthrough after 1 year, because if you've never built a home before, you have to understand the house has to go through all 4 seasons to properly settle. And for caulking and things like that, all of that happens in the first year. So we do a 1 year walkthrough after you've been in the home 1 year.
So Creekmore Realty Group, what we do, again, we're Alpha to Omega. So when that pre-construction meeting is either on site or on the phone, then we're available to answer questions and be an advocate for the client while during the process. And also for during the process of the home, a lot of our clients cannot be there. And so they may ask us or my team to go over this. Hey, my countertops were in. Do you mind running over there and take a picture? I'd like to see what my countertops look like. That being said, on that part, Carol, you guys have a builder software that you use that updates the client as well, correct?
Yes, we have an app called Novi app, and we would enter you into the Novi app in the beginning, way early. And it's an app you load on your phone, and we upload things to that. You can see all things Kent Homes on that app. But once construction starts, and as we move through the process, everything is filed on that app. Like once you sign a purchase agreement, that's filed. Your selections are filed. There's a finance section in the app where all your finance items would be filed. But the nice thing about it is the project manager will upload photos to the app, so you can see the progress of the home as it's being built if you're not local, but we would do it anyway, even if you're local. And then also he can communicate back and forth with you by easily through, private messaging, text, just anyway. It's a nice app because you can go right on your phone. You'll get notifications whenever we put something on the app, so you're always, current with everything. You don't have to log into a website or a portal. It's right there on your phone. It's very user friendly. We just started using the app about a year ago, and all of our homeowners have been real happy about it and find it very easy to use.
So 3 years from now, and I want to repaint the house, say the interior of the house. Is the color selection saved on that Novi app?
Yes, all of your options, addendum, and selections information and all that, anything that the homeowner signs off on will be on the app. And if you can't find it, you can call our office and we have it on file, so it's not lost.
Yeah, that's pretty handy. So the the satisfaction of clients from Kent Homes is what percentage?
It's typically 95% or above in recommendation rate. We use a third-party survey company. No one else in the area does it. It's called Guild Quality, and it is kind of like the J.D. Powers of the sort of surveys, nationwide. They survey the home building industry, and we have been using Guild Quality for probably going on 10 years now. And you will get surveyed 5 times during the process. You'll be surveyed after the sales process, which is me, the selections process, which is the design center, midway through construction, which would be the project manager, when you do your walkthrough, and then 1 year after you've been in the home, so that covers the warranty department. And basically, we work very hard to make sure our surveys come in high. They are posted directly to our website. We're not cherry picking the best surveys. Right now, I think the last time I looked, there was over 700 surveys. They go straight to our website. So you see the good, the bad, and ugly. And, we work very hard to make people happy, but sometimes you just can't make everybody happy. But that is like a measuring tool that we use. Our executive management team, they dissect those surveys every quarter, and we look for where we need to improve, what the weaknesses are. But overall, we have always scored 95% or greater in recommendation rates. We've also been awarded for the 8th year in a row the highest distinction award from Guild Quality for the most surveys turned in and with the highest percentage rates. We are one of only 3 builders in North Carolina that have received that designation. So we're real proud of that. I have a press release I can email you, but you can go directly to our website to Home Buyer Toolkit, and it'll say customer reviews, and that brings up the Guild Quality page. And then you can just read it forever and ever if you'd like. All the surveys are posted.
That's kenthomes.net. Bruce, did you have a question? No. Okay. So, all right. Thank you for answering that. And that is a large reason why I've been working very successfully with Kent Homes over the years. So I want to thank everybody for joining. I'm going to give you another opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. Again, we're Creekmore Realty Group at the coast of North Carolina. I personally have been doing this for 29 years, and I have a team of agents that work with me, and we very much focus on the active adult lifestyle communities here in the coast. So that being said, does anybody on the attendee list, anybody have any questions that they'd like answered before we sign off?
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
If I may just say a couple real quick things.
Sure.
So as Carol was mentioning about the surveys, we do the same thing at US Bank. I strive very hard to exceed expectations. It starts with me and it ends with me. And I think I've told you this in the past. I'd rather do 1 loan right than 10 loans halfway. I take it very seriously. I strive to get hundreds. So they're asking about how Clay did, how the processor did, and the overall experience. The other thing I did want to mention, I think this is important, as far as closing costs go, just to give you an idea, on a $500,000 loan, you can expect on a construction to perm, with 5 to 7 draws, our construction admin fee, the attorney, the title, etc., probably estimated cost of around $7,000. Okay. Another thing, something that we offer at US Bank, if someone is willing to open up a US Bank checking account and put a minimum of $25, we'll give the borrower a 1/4 point lender credit based on the loan amount not to exceed $1,000. So if someone financed $400,000, we're going to give you $1,000 basically that can be applied to offset the closing cost. And then lastly, I want to mention a word that whether you work with me or another bank, it's called recasting. So let's say, for example, you're coming from Pennsylvania. I think that's where you said you were coming from, Jill. And I don't know if you own a home, but if you do and you sell the home, you've got all this equity. And let's say you borrow $500,000 on the construction to perm loan. And let's say your net proceeds are $300,000 for the sale of that home in Pennsylvania. At the end, you could come in and do a principal sum reduction. You could take a portion of that $300,000, or you could take all of that $300,000 and pay down the loan balance. And once you do that, then we're going to recalculate the payment based on the lower loan amount. And there's a nominal fee to do that with us. I think it's a couple $100. But keep recasting in your mind. And most banks offer, but we certainly do.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of people do need to sell a house ultimately to reduce the expense, and recasting is a great tool to put a big lump towards the house, but go ahead and get the construction started. After the house is finished, put a big lump after the house is sold. Okay, Jill, I think I gave you Clay's contact information. Does anybody else have any questions for either myself, Clay, or Carol? Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And again, this webinar will be saved on my YouTube, creekmorerealtygroup.com. And also we will email, once it's downloaded, we'll email everybody a copy of it. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Clay and Carol, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. All right, everyone, have a great rest of the day.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.